So good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, August 21st. And next week is, wow, we only have just a few days left before Halloween. So those clubs that are getting ready to do their Halloween and their trick-or-treating and all that stuff together, I'm sure they're keeping busy. This is Sue Petterson from the Michigan District of Kiwanis, and I want to welcome you to Kiwanis Let's Talk. We have been doing this Thursday night program since March or April of 2020, taking a few weeks off here and there with the holidays, but we have a few more weeks left. Next week on Thursday, October 28th, our Kiwanis International President, Peter Mancuso, will be with us to talk about what's going on in the Kiwanis world and the 20 words that we all should know. On November 1st, the Kiwanis Club in Clinton, I think it's Clinton County, will talk about their game a card game that they call the Ace of Spades, where they raised over $100,000 during the pandemic. Thursday, November 11th, we actually have a group of Kiwanians names were provided to us, who are veterans, and they're going to talk about things that how we can work together with our veterans, or how we can help our veterans and things that they're seeing happen. And then our last session will be Thursday, November 18th. I'm still finalizing the details on that speaker, but that will be our last session for the year. And then we take off the rest of November and December for the holidays here, and Sue's travel schedule is basically what it's about. I'll be on the road quite a bit for my job those 10 or 12 weeks. And then we'll potentially take a look at what's going to start back up in January, depending on where we're going. So I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. And I know there was a comment made. If you would just tell us where you're from in the chat today. Tony, who's with us from down under, as we like to say. It's
Melbourne. We've got another Melburnian here today, Mark Sims. We haven't seen him for a long, long time.
Hi, Mark. Good to have him with us. So down under, is it now 7 a.m., 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. there? Up, you're muted, Tony.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. Okay, so 11 a.m. on Friday. So he's going to tell us what's coming forward. So I think Tony may have all the lottery numbers.
Yeah.
So just so you know, you can go back and play the lottery here, right? But I see Southwest, I see Michigan, I see PNW. Who else do I see on here? I see Louisiana, Mississippi, West Tennessee. I got somebody from Phil Rossi. Spencer's here. I was invited by Phil Rossi from is it Canada Stittsville Club? Or close, right?
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I was still in the chat.
Hey, that's okay. Perfect. Thank you. It's glad to have everybody here. So this evening, we are excited to have with us, and truly a program that we all pay particular attention to, is a program on our youth protection. And with us this evening is Melissa McMann, who is the Global Leadership Certificate and Youth Protection Specialist. And I will tell you that youth protection, of course, is near and dear to all of our hearts based on what we do in our program with the children. Melissa has been with us for a couple years now and has really helped develop this program. Every once in a while, I get questions about what is Kiwanis International doing with youth protection, or what do we need to do as a club, or how do we need to help our members? So this is a program that Melissa has provided several times. I'm sure there's some updates and things that have changed, but this is your opportunity to learn about youth protection and what Kiwanis International's practices are. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And as we get towards the end of the program tonight, if there are any other questions that you want to ask Melissa, I know that she will take them. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Melissa. Just so you know, we do tape these programs. We record them, and sometime later this evening, they will be up on the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube page. And I will post that on the Michigan District of Kiwanis page and then my own personal pages. But the information will be out there. And as always, you can always call 1-800-Kiwanis, ask for Melissa, and she can help us out. So Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sue. It is such a pleasure to be here. I see so many familiar faces. I see the members, and Jerry, I owe you a phone call. I've been on vacation this week, but I'm here today because I'm really excited to talk with all of you. And it's really exciting that there's so many different folks and members from so many different districts. So
don't forget to call.
I might answer your question as we go along. What we're going to talk about today is why youth protection matters to our Kiwanis family, and then youth protection ABC. So these are kind of the fundamentals. And then whether you're a district leader, a local club member, youth protection or youth programs advisor, or a chaperone, thank you for taking your time tonight to join us to listen about this important topic and about all the different ways in policy and in practice that Kiwanis is trying to protect the youth that we are serving. I do want to put a trigger warning out. Some of the conversations or the examples that we talk about are about abuse. And if anyone has had abuse in the past that feels uncomfortable, feel free to step away, or if you need to, undo your camera. We want this to be a comfortable setting, but some of this information can be triggering. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. The whole purpose of sharing about youth protection is to destigmatize about abuse. And we know that in childhood, that there is across all ages and all socioeconomic levels, the CDC actually reports that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys may experience child sexual abuse. And so as Kiwanis and our youth programs, we serve over 300,000 student members each year. And so those statistics, our membership could be affected by some type of abuse. And so we want to provide resources and policy to protect them while they are in our care. And also as we work in our community and we serve in our community, in fundraisers and in different service projects, that as we interact with youth in our community, we're also aware that they may have experienced abuse or may have come in contact with it in their lifetime. Through our research, we see that abusers have privacy, access, and control to youth. So when there's privacy, a one-on-one type of relationship or mentoring relationship. And with Kiwanis, we're developing leaders and service leaders as our students, but there's also that mentoring type relationship. So there is access to students. And then when it comes to control, what this means is when there might be some type of inappropriate control or crossing the line of controlling students. And so that's some ways that abusers have gained access to students. Abuse is actually at the hands. So I grew up hearing about stranger danger. You might get picked up off the side of the street or something when you're walking to school. While that may happen, statistically, more than 90% of abusers are people that children know, love, and trust. So that might be a coach, it might be a teacher, it might be a neighbor or some kind of family member. And 85% of child abuse victims never report their abuse. That may be due to fear of retaliation, fear that no one's going to believe them, or victim shaming, or even just because they know who the abuser is, they don't know or are afraid of any kind of repercussions. So as part of Kiwanis, and we'll talk about this as far as reporting and looking for red flags if children in the youth programs would happen to self-report any kind of abuse, what would we do in those types of situations? And then also we wanted to share, since Key Club is our largest population of student members in that teenage year, We see statistics that suicide is actually the second leading cause of death in children and adolescents in the US. And then globally, it's the WHO reports that it's the second leading cause in death 15 to 29-year-olds globally. And so we want to take not only the physical safety of our youth in our programs, but also that mental health, that developing empathy. We also know that a lot of child sexual assault victims, once they've experienced that, they have long-term physical, mental, emotional, health consequences, including suicidal tendencies or ideation. I will also say we've been following research and reports coming out from the pandemic and how social distancing during the pandemic has been especially hard for teens, and the increase in reporting not only the social distancing, but then also the increase of reporting of abuse that happened at the home during the pandemic as well. So those are all different things. And our goal is to educate. So by educating you and educating you, taking this information and sharing it with your clubs, education is prevention. And so that's, part of our action that we take today. Our goals on an annual basis, we are protecting, educating, and engaging all Kiwanis members to protect our youth members from predators, empowering and educating you, the adult members and the adult leaders. We are so thankful that we have you as adult leaders, that you're willing to take your time and work with the youth and mentor them and teach them leadership skills or fundraising or service skills. But we also want to empower you with skills in this type of situation. And then also the students themselves, providing them with positive skills and how we can engage them to stand up for one another, that they can be upstanders and not just a bystander watching something inappropriate happen. Because we know that, Kiwanis globally is a premier service organization, and we're growing the next generation of service leaders. And so we want to help them develop their ability to help those in their community as well. So the fundamental framework for Kiwanis youth protection is accessible, high quality training and resources. So part of that is our extensive policies and procedures as part of that framework. And we want to train on those policies and procedures, and that's what we're, touching on tonight. And then also background checks and beyond the background checks, looking at ways that we can screen our adult leaders, and then culture of care, which is that component for the youth themselves. So one of the policies that we have is about education. So every Kiwanian club is expected to inform, educate its members on the youth protection guidelines. And to the right is the document that is a summary of all the youth protection guidelines out of like the 100-page international policies and procedures. We pulled them all out that pertain to youth protection, put it on a 2-page document, and you can download this from the youth protection website, and you can share this with your club. So getting credit, so all of you tonight, go back to your club secretary and let them know that you participated in this training, and your club secretary can then mark on the secretary dashboard where you see that red arrow in the middle of my screen. It says our club has received youth protection guideline training. And it's right above the service leadership program on the secretary dashboard. And that's one way that at International we can check and verify that all the clubs have gotten their training. And again, the training can be 20-minute presentation. It could be reviewing this recording. It could be talking about the policies, the document. We also have training slides. So last week was Youth Protection Week, which is the annual week that Kiwanis celebrates or promotes awareness for youth protection. And October is also Bullying Prevention Month. So you all are, doing this at an opportune time. Really appreciate you getting this training done at the beginning of the school years as you work with students throughout the year. We always encourage clubs to get their training and renew those policies in the fall when schools start up again, and just so that everyone is refreshed. You may recognize the lovely lady on the right. This is actually Jackie Wickham. She is your Michigan District Youth Protection Manager, and she shared this picture. She actually was one of our special speakers last week during Youth Protection Week, and she shared about how different tips for how you can train your club. And so her club actually, I forget exactly, she had shared with me, her club actually went ahead and bought her a youth protection banner, which was so nice. And she shared at the Michigan District Convention youth protection policies and handed out different information and answered questions. So if your district, each district has a youth protection manager. And so if you're a governor or a lieutenant governor, please invite those youth protection managers to speak, to do a workshop at your midwinter or your district convention or any workshops. They're all trained and they all have access to the training PowerPoints and so forth. And they're even available. I don't know if all of them can, travel, but definitely virtually if your club needs a trainer and you don't have someone that you feel comfortable knowing the material, your youth protection coordinator for your district is a great resource. Additional resources, we have the Kiwanis Youth Protection page. So you can go to kiwanis.org/youth protection. Or if you just go to the regular Kiwanis page, if you have it bookmarked and you put in the search bar youth protection, you'll see this page with these blue buttons. Each of the different blue buttons take you to another page, more information. So we have frequently asked questions about the background checks. If I don't answer all your questions tonight, you can go and you can look that up. Youth Protection Week, we have past recordings, and next week when I'm back in the office, I'll be working on uploading recordings and PowerPoints from the most previous week. We also, the help button, if you click on help, that actually gives a list of the district youth protection managers. You can see what their position, what their role is. And then more information about our reporting helpline as well. In February of 2020, Kiwanis launched youth protection online courses through Presidium Inc. So Presidium started about 30 years ago by a professor researching child sexual abuse after an abuse case in Texas in a youth serving organization. They've worked with thousands of youth serving organizations like Six Flags, USA Swimming, the Y of USA, even the Indianapolis Zoo. And they have built up an array of services, social work, research, prevention materials, but most importantly, training materials that Kiwanis International has purchased, these modules that are online courses. And they are more about how to look for red flags or inappropriate behavior of a child, or maybe even interactions between an adult and a child that you see, as well as social media safety, and even examples of victims or of perpetrators themselves, how they have groomed children to give examples. And I will say these trainings are only about 20 minutes. And for the service leadership program advisors, district administrators, our district risk managers, and our district youth protection managers, we require them to complete a set of 6 courses. And then if someone's going to be a chaperone of a youth serving an SLP sponsored event, we ask them to complete 3 courses. And the way that you can log into the system or that you can look at it is, and again, this to the left is what you would see when you logged in. So this is actually my homepage, and you can see there's a learning path, there's courses listed, and I would just view the course or continue. If you are a member, you could self-initiate. If you are an advisor already, we have pre-enrolled all our advisors. And so you could just click on this forgot password. And that is one mechanism that you can just create a new password and save reset a password. We use the email that is in Kiwanis membership database. So for Sue being, say, an advisor, she could type in her email that she uses for Kiwanis, click forgot password, and then it'll step you through questions to reset your password. And then once you're logged in, you will see these picture tiles. These are actually the courses. So the courses are automatically loaded, and you would just click continue, and you could just view those courses, or even at the top where I have circled in red where it says continue, and then you can see your completed or your certificate. And then you can keep that certificate for yourself. If you want to print it out, you can. However, we actually at Kiwanis International get the data automatically. And so we are able to generate reports of who's completed, and we track that for our advisors. But if you are a member, if you're a club president or club secretary, and you are interested in chaperoning or even just interested in the courses, you are able to go to your own personal profile in your Kiwanis Connect and click a create Presidium account. So that is really, really awesome that we're able to offer that to all our members. Another policy is the background check. So Kiwanis International requires clubs to have a clear criminal history background check for any club member serving as an advisor to the service leadership programs. And these do include the Circle K and the Action Club. And we know that they are over 18, but we also want to include them. And as far as the advisors and the district administrators that are working with those vulnerable populations. You may ask, why a background check? Through our research, we know that background checks are used as a screening tool to identify potential predators who may have a history of violence or child abuse. And while Kiwanis is a global organization, we realize that background checks and the mechanics of receiving those checks vary from country to country. When it comes to our faculty advisors, so our teachers, our school staff who are assigned to be or asked to be a faculty advisor, we, depending on different scenarios, if they work on the school grounds, say they're only meeting at 7 a.m. with the Key Club or the Builders Club students, and they're only on school grounds, they would not need our Kiwanis background check. The background check that they get through their school is sufficient. When that faculty advisor goes off school grounds, they're going to a large day event, or they're going overnight to Key Club or CKI International Convention. That's when we need them to complete our Kiwanis International background check. That's when our Kiwanis insurance, our liability insurance, would cover them because they're no longer on school property. So I just kind of wanted to make that distinction between our Kiwanis members serving as an advisor versus the school faculty advisor. Now, for chaperones in youth programs, they must be 21 years or older. There are some districts that actually require them to be even older. So in the case of a CKI member, someone who is 18 and they want to help out with a Key Club event, we would say that they could help out, but there needs to be anyone who's over 21 needs to have a background check, and those that are 18 would not be an official chaperone. We would still need to meet the chaperone ratio, and there's a chaperone ratio of 1 background checked adult to 10 students. So the chaperones also need to have reviewed our policies and procedures, as well as take that training, those 3 courses in Presidium. And if it's an overnight event, again, going to international convention, we do have ratios for 1 female background checked adult who's supervising and monitoring up to 10 students who are going on that convention or that overnight event, and then 1 male background checked adult for up to 10 students as well. If you were to go over 10, so say it was 15 male students, then you would need 2 male advisors or chaperones just to kind of monitor, keep everyone in check and knowing where all the students are for the safety purposes. And then also adults should not be sharing sleeping quarters unless it's their own child. Our social media policy at Kiwanis, we really discourage that not initiating one-on-one social media direct messages with students, whether it's Facebook, TikTok. We know that students, that's their way that they communicate. They don't pick up the phone. They're oftentimes, or they would rather just text you the information if you're an advisor. So we really recommend that you add a rule of 3, adding 2 adults plus the student, or sending out group messages so that there is an advisor. If you don't have another advisor, maybe a parent, maybe the secretary of your club or the president of your club. For instance, if you're inviting students to help you wash dishes for your fall festival pancake breakfast, and you really need the extra help from the Key Club students, we would say, please put an additional adult on there so that you're avoiding one-on-one texts, one-on-one emails, and that protects the adult as well as protecting the child, so that, or the youth, from, any kind of inappropriate communications. And I will say there have been, we have received different incidences and questions and clarification, because sometimes students are like, why is I didn't think the advisor or the administrator was supposed to contact me via text, because they're in school and they're like, I'm continually getting texts and I'm at school, I can't answer. And then they're calling me and getting upset. So we have to also remember that these are students, and that they're young students, their brains are still developing. And when it comes to photographs, if you're going to ask a student to, be on your club Facebook page, get their parents' permission. So if they're under 18, just a simple, hey, we would really like to highlight the service project that we did together, the Kiwanis Club, as well as the Key Club or the Builders Club. Ask the parent for their permission. Oftentimes at the beginning of a school year, and part of the registration for Key Club or maybe even Builders Club, there may be a line in the application or the registration or even a form that says that waives publicity. We always say not to post pictures on your personal individual page. So I know for me, and we've heard this from other folks, that parents may feel uncomfortable if some other adult is posting pictures of their child without them knowing about it. And so we always say, put it on from the club page to the SLP program page, if it's Instagram or if it's Facebook, so that everything is public facing, like you're having a public conversation, nothing private. And that just kind of goes back to that the grooming and the access and privacy and control. If an advisor is having one-on-one texting conversations, and the child or the youth then becomes vulnerable or over in any kind of inappropriate relationship, we just kind of want to avoid that and protect Kiwanis as well. During the pandemic, so many clubs, key clubs and Kiwanis clubs pivoted from meeting in person and to meeting virtually. And so we developed these guidelines after talking to other national youth serving organizations in similar circumstances. And so we do have a short training where I walk through not only these bullet points, but a couple others that are on our YP training page. But we advise programs to have at least 2 to 3 background checked adults on that SLP club Zoom meeting. So if you are having an event or a call with students, having 2 adults, it really kind of discourages inappropriate behavior. And then it also, not only from the students amongst each other, but you're also kind of looking out for making sure that no one joins the call. So we always recommend a password that is sent to the students, not posted on a social media site or sent out to anyone, because that way perpetrators from the internet can't just join your Zoom call. And then we always ask that, the students who are participating in the call also be appropriate. No bullying, no inappropriate language, or make sure that the background is appropriate, that everyone's dressed, and so having that other adult is making sure that, the chat's monitored and the background and everything is all very kosher. Transportation, when traveling with students to a service project or a convention, have at least 3 people in the car. Make sure adults or students have the appropriate parent guardian permissions and are following the school rules and traffic and safety rules. And, sometimes when you get down to you've dropped off other students and you're down to just 1 student, call Liam's parents or send Liam's parents a message and say, hey, we're 5 minutes away. We just dropped off Andrew and now we're coming to drop off Liam. We hope that's okay. Just so that there's some kind of communication, there's tracking. If you want to write it down, on a log, on a piece of paper or something, just knowing when the students left, just having that kind of as an extra, is one way that you can protect yourself. The possession of prescription and over-the-counter medications, whether that's Tylenol or Advil, should only be allowed with written permission from parents or guardians. And then we also, from a best practice, that's only administered by the adult, the advisor. And one way to get permission, I use this as an example. This is a international registration form. So to go to convention, there's just a line that gets added. Will your Key Club member be taking any prescription drugs or any over-the-counter, medications of any type, an EpiPen or needing Tylenol for something? One way that the Key Club can just include this is it's part of the registration. So when the parent is signing off and saying, yes, my child can go to this event, then they know, are they going to need medications? If a Kiwanis member observes any kind of troubling behavior of a youth at a Kiwanis event or becomes aware of one, that the student, a situation that is illegal or potentially unsafe, we ask that you contact the appropriate personnel on site. So that might be a district leader who is part of the planning team, if it's at a youth district event, if it is illegal in nature, or if it's something urgent and a safety matter, contact the police right away. We're not asking you to be investigators. We would rather, when it comes to reporting, to get appropriate personnel involved sooner rather than later. And if any Kiwanian becomes aware of a situation after the fact, same thing, notify law enforcement if it's something that is dangerous or illegal in nature, and then also contact the leaders of the event. Another good contact is the district administrator for the SLP, who has knowledge of all the youth protection policies and so forth. And so we would rather know And if there is an allegation that's being reported, we'll really keep things confidential, and we ask that anyone who's reporting also keeps the situation or the incident confidential until there can be an investigation or there can be follow-up conversations. And I will say that we do have Kiwanis International with Presidium Inc. Presidium actually staffs 24/7 a helpline for us. So our helpline is 866-607-SAFE. And any Kiwanian member or a parent of a member or even a youth, it is anonymous. Callers can remain anonymous. If they suspect any red flag behavior or a policy violation related to youth protection, or maybe suspected abuse, or even peer-to-peer sexual abuse or sexual harassment, and if a student feels uncomfortable going to their advisor, they can call this number. It is routed to us, myself, our legal and youth programs director, Michelle Studi Campbell. We get those, we review them, and we reach out to the appropriate parties and look into those. Background checks and beyond. So I said earlier that Kiwanis advisors need to have a background check. We have partnered with Safe Visitors, Safe Hiring Solutions to offer those in the US and the Caribbean and some other of our countries that are global members. Non-members, so this is a tricky part. I know that I've gotten some calls recently that I have a chaperone, it's a parent who wants to come to a fall event with their student. How do I get them a background check? You can email me at backgroundchecks@kiwanis.org, and we'll have to manually add them to the system so that we can send them a link, because currently in the membership system or even the secretary dashboard, you're only going to have your club members. You're not going to have those non-members, those parents, those chaperones who aren't. So we do need to add them manually. For the US, club secretaries can generate an invitation. So to the right, they actually, on the secretary dashboard, there's a member admin, and it lists all the different names of all the folks who are members of that club. And then on the right, you can see highlighted in yellow where it says background checks, whether it's expired, it's going to expire, or there's an envelope. And unfortunately, if it has expired, and they're not going to be an advisor again, it will stay saying expired, but you can just click that envelope and it'll send a new link and they can renew that background check. We're continually trying to keep our numbers up so that all advisors are background checked. And then on an individual basis, so I'm a member of the Fishers, Indiana Kiwanis Club. And so in my personal profile page, I can click on that background checks link on my profile page and I can see if it's time to renew. If I click on it, I can actually initiate a link and it'll get sent to me. For non-US members, they should email backgroundchecks@kiwanis.org. So for our Caribbean friends, European, ASPAC, they should contact backgroundchecks@kiwanis.org. I saw that we, did have someone from Australia. We've worked with Peter Zander, and they're different depending on the country. There are some different protocols for that, and I'm happy to answer those individually because for instance, in Europe, we do have Safe Hiring Solution actually has researchers through Credence, which is an international search, and they have forms related to what documentation is required from that country's government. So in Italy or Germany, what is required from that country to be able to search? We have that as part of the link that gets sent out. And then our Canadian residents, we ask them to go to their local police and obtain a vulnerable sector check. and also a local police check. And in Ontario, on the eastern side of Canada, they are typically allowed to, they'll receive the results in a PDF and they can email those to us. In the Western Canada, we're still working on that protocol because there's some different regulations on the Western side versus the Eastern side. And so we're having some meetings about that, and we should be able to put out some more guidance in the next few weeks once we kind of vet through that process. But I will say, what is exactly checked? You know, if you're curious on the package that we have with Safe Hiring Solutions, the Social Security is checked so that it can go through the National Criminal Database, the Sex Offender Registry, Federal District Search, and then the other thing, for any of the background checks, the county criminal search. So if I were to get arrested for domestic violence, that would be in the county search and not necessarily, you know, an FBI check or a fingerprint check. So that's one of the reasons why we go down to that county level, because local violent crimes can be committed and reported at that county level. And then again, for the Caribbean countries, we work with their national, state, and local authorities, and there are researchers that we work with their government entities on what can be searched. Club secretaries, so I've mentioned them a few times. They're really valuable actually with helping us on the youth protection monitoring of the background checks and monitoring of the education component. So we always remind clubs that the fee for the advisors for background checks is $25. Now for members, I heard Sue say that her whole club was doing a background check. There may be additional fees if that person has lived in multiple different states or multiple different counties. Some states were like for New York, for example, it's $90 to do a background check for anyone. And so Kiwanis International offsets that $25. So if a New York advisor wants to get a background check, we absorb that difference between the 25 and the 90. But we can't do that for everyone. We just don't have the budget. We focus really on those SLP district administrators and those advisors. But you can take that fee, you know, the background check fee out of your administrative or your service account. So I just kind of wanted to share that as well. And then we're always asking that to keep those Kiwanis advisors, those liaisons identified and in the roster. Our goal is to reach and maintain 100% background check compliance for all of our advisors for our youth programs. So I talked about adult leaders and what they're required to do. I'm going to shift gears now and talk about what is creating a culture of care. So this is our initiative to provide students themselves, our Builders Club, our K-Kid, or our Builders Club, our Key Club, and our CKI with training and resources to be leaders in their school to prevent bullying, reducing instances of violence, as well as understanding healthy relationships and personal boundaries. And the one way that we're able to do this is developing specific resources for the students. We are working on developing a video for parents in the near future, so the parents of our youth members can have a resource, as well as continuing to provide resources for our adult leaders. So for our student leaders, we started with Key Club last summer, offering 4 courses that are taught by the Coalition Against Sexual Assault and into Human Trafficking presenter, somebody that we've worked with really closely to develop curriculum on these different topics. And it's really been a overwhelmingly positive response from the students. They say that it's often like the soft skills, that empathy and communication. You know, if I'm a Key Club president, how do I deal with delegating, and how do I communicate with my peers in a healthy way when now I'm in a leadership role. And so those are some of the conversations that the curriculum actually teaches the students on how to facilitate and take back to their local clubs. So there's icebreakers in the curriculum. There's videos that they can share with their club as well. And we did have over 300 virtual attendees at International Convention this year. Last year we had about 600 virtual attendees. So we're continuing to grow this program as well as train our board leaders on an annual basis at GATSE. And then this year we expanded it to our college age students and offered them 4 courses that were tailored more towards the college age level of like what kind of resources are on your campus and how to be an upstander. So if you're at a party and you see, red flag behavior, how can you, help your friend? And again, we had virtual students participate as well as in person at our convention, and we're hoping to offer these courses again next year. And one of the goals that I have is continually have check-ins with the students on how they're doing and ask them if they can facilitate these conversations and how is that going as well, just to kind of build up the program. And then also in Culture of Care, the Key Club has actually partnered with Erica's Lighthouse. They are a nonprofit out of Illinois that focuses on depression education. And Circle K has partnered with Active Minds. They hosted a town hall in September, and Active Minds actually has collegiate campus like networking and like social media campaigns all against depression education, or how to prevent suicide and how to educate folks on depression. We are expanding into our Culture of Care into the Builders Club in the next year. And then I will say during Youth Protection Week, we actually, or the week before, I guess, we recorded a conversation with 2 of our Key Club international trustees and CKI governors on if they were back in middle school, if they were back in elementary, how would they talk to our Builders Club and our K kids about bullying prevention? What would they do? And they gave some really great tips and tricks and really insightful conversation that we recorded, and we're going to put up on our website as well, so that Builders Club and K kids advisors can share that with their local clubs as well. So we did have Youth Protection Week last week. I just like this graphic. And so there are different recordings that are going to be posted very soon. If there are questions, I'm happy to take those now. And if you need follow-up background checks at kiwanis.org is the great email to email us if you have a background check question. If you have a question about the Presidium and the login, you can contact us at Youth Protection. Again, our Youth Protection website as well is a great place for lots of different information. And I know that Mr. Jerry Weiss is going to raise his hand and ask a question about a new policy. So in October, at the last KYP board meeting, they, so I gave the ratio for day events, that it's a 1 to 10 students. However, just recently, the KYP board passed policy that if a large event, if there's going to be, say for CNH, they have a fall rally coming up and they're not able to meet that ratio of 1 to 10 because they may have 5,000 students, that the board approved that it would be a 50 to 1. And so I actually just got that language this week, and we are in the process of putting that in our new policies and procedures and putting that out on the website. So I haven't talked to Tim, but I did forward to Michelle Tim's message. Yes. because I didn't even have the official policy, but we're working on it, and it should be on our materials very soon. So what other questions do you have? Oh, thank you, Sue. Yes, KYP is Kiwanis Youth Programs. And I will say thank you so much to all of you who are serving as an advisor. Your dedication to mentoring students, it's so important. You know, students need really good role models, and just knowing that, you know, we actually tell the students, Key Club and CKI at their conventions, I'll do these trainings and let them know that, you know, we're sharing this with our adults, and that we have a high standards, and we, you know, by educating, we're hopefully preventing abuse.
What types of questions do we have? I think I will ask Melissa. I sent you a question earlier this week that you helped answer already, which was, what about our international clubs?
Yeah, so when I talk about Canada, so Canada, Barbados, Martinique, Guadalupe, their country's government doesn't allow a third party vendor to do a background check. So that's why we ask them to actually go to their local police department and send it to us. But then other countries will allow us to use Credence or use Safe Hiring Solutions. Now in Australia, it's a little bit different situation, because they actually, they have certificates that they get from their government that they can be free, and we're allowing those to be sent into, like, it would be like a local police check, but it's actually from their government. What other questions do we have?
So I did my background check tonight, earlier today. It just takes a couple of minutes. Our club, the East Lansing club that I belong to, the board made the decision over the summer that we would have every member of our club go ahead and get a background check and have that completed. Our club is paying for that for the first time through, which, you know, it's $1,000, but as our club talked about the fact of, you know, we are a youth serving organization, and, you know, we have several lawyers in our club, like many clubs, and a lot of youth educators, and the club felt very strongly that we needed to do this. I will tell you, the question was raised about, you know, those people that may not work with the kids in a one-on-one basis, and a couple of our members said, you know, that may be true, but we are a youth serving organization, and as an organization, we need to take the stand as a club to pay for this this background check, and the fact that, you know, this is what we do. And, you know, when you think about it, for $25, it's $12.50 a year. When you really think about it, I will tell you that I'm one of those people that has been being background checked for 20 years, probably. And it's a $12.50 a year is a small price to pay, you know, for this. And as someone, many of my friends here in Michigan know that I work for Michigan State University, and I went through, the university went through a major case with sexual harassment and you know, all types of things back about 5 years ago. And I was heavily involved in it because of my job and my role at the university. But it was, I will tell you that as I watched more and more things happen, and I have a very good friend who's one of the investigators on that situation, you know, and listening to her and talking to her, I can't, you know, encourage anyone strongly enough. Also serving on the international board, I saw the money that we were paying as an organization, and the claims that were coming to Kiwanis International that have been coming for years and years and years. And it may have been just because our name was on the building, right? So it's not something that, you know, we take lightly, and is, yeah, exactly, the consequences of not doing it are much bigger than the $25.
And as far as Linda's question, that is a very good question. And that particular one with Western Canada, we're still working out. So I don't really have a good answer for that just yet. But I hope that in the next few weeks, I'll have a better answer for you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
And Linda's question was about what countries that will not share the information across borders.
Yes.
Any other, one of the questions I often get is, well, my school does it, or my church does it, or I have to have it for X, Y, and Z organization. Why do I have to have it done for Kiwanis?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't get their information. We don't get the report, and they may not have done the level and the detail that we do. So while somebody says, well, I got a FBI background check, well, if you're committing a crime on a federal basis, that's a lot different than, a child pornography at a local level, or a domestic violence or a child abuse case at a local level that's at the county, the county circuit court, that isn't going to be found on a federal case. So, and also our system, they don't talk to each other. And so we have in our system, like renewals and reports that get run so that we can monitor and we can check folks as well. Like due date, like if it's cleared on a certain date, like Sue said, it's good for 2 years. So we try and we send renewals for folks. So
yes, it is. The background check is good for 2 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions? I will say, speaking for Michigan, Jackie Wickham has done several presentations around the state, whether she comes to your club in person or whether she will do it on Zoom. Our club, I know she's presented to our club, and unfortunately I was not there that day, but I got some great feedback, and answers those questions. And I know that we had a few members of our club who are physicians and had questions, right? So she was able to respond to all of that and get answers for those who didn't. But it's very honorable that what we're doing, right? It's just what we need to do.
Yep.
Where do you go to change your password again?
So you would go to Presidium Academy. Let me go back. I don't want to tell you incorrectly. PresidiumAcademy.com.
Okay.
And if you click forgot password and it doesn't come up, you can actually send me an email and I will make sure that you're in the system. If not, I can add you to the system. And if you're not already in there, but we tried to set it up so that folks who are already advisors would automatically have access to it.
Yeah, I got an email back several months
July.
ago, and I
Yep.
thought it was a scam because I had no idea what Presidium Academy was, and I wasn't giving anybody my password.
Sure, no, that's fine. Well, and I wish this button would actually say create new password or forgot password, because for some of our members, you're creating it for the first time. Because we did have another system they migrated this summer from Artemis to Presidium Academy. And I will say that these courses, they actually have over 400,000 users, because like the Y of USA, Boys and Girls Club of America, all their volunteers go through these training courses as well. So yeah.
And I think
Okay.
the aspect that we're using the Presidium Academy, right? It's not a Kiwanis. We didn't build it.
Right. It's a separate web page. It's a
Right.
separate course.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Melissa, this group is well educated on Kiwanis youth protection. I will tell you that.
I know. I really appreciate it, because I've seen so many familiar faces, and I know it's a lot of information, but I know you guys have, you've heard it before, but sometimes there's different nuances or example. Yeah. So again, anytime throughout the year, a situation comes up and you're not sure how to handle it, reach out to Jackie, reach out to me. We'll get you an answer.
And every district does have their own
Yes.
youth protection manager as well. So for those of you that are not from Michigan, you can connect with
Yes.
them. And
Yeah.
Melissa, I want to thank you because I know that you're on vacation this week. Because earlier
You're
this week,
you're special, Sue. So
thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Just
And
gave up her-
we had booked this months ago, and I was
Right.
like, okay, it's my son's fall break. I have a 10-year-old and in the other room playing video games.
I'm sure he was like, hey, mom's going to give me a break. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've done the this is on the recording part. Sorry, you might cut this part out. We've done the pumpkin patch this week. We've done all the fun fall stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Larry, did you have a question?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
The Chelsea Club is doing, Jackie's gonna do the youth protection Monday night, and
Okay.
we've invited anybody else that wants to join. It's gonna be a Zoom. We decided to do it Zoom so we could get more people to it. So, and we do also pay for the background checks.
Yep. As we say, it's a small price.
Right.
So, all right. So we will put this video up on the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube page. We will announce that it'll come up sometime this evening yet. It'll be up by midnight once I download it. Just so you all know, for those of you who have not been with us before, I do not do any fanciness to the program, right? I don't cut anything out. I don't change anything. You get the raw video just like it is. For me, it's like the fact that I know how to record it and do it. But after a year and a half, we got lots of videos up there. You're
Yeah.
welcome to share. You can share this with anybody you want. Feel free to use parts of it at a meeting. If you want to show parts of it, you could do it over a couple of meetings. You could send it to your clubs with the link and ask them to go look at it. So there's many ways to do that to get this information out. So
Yeah, but one of the most important things is make sure your secretary gives you credit for it too, because
Yes.
I think sometimes we do it and people don't get credit for it too.
right. I'll remember to do that tonight.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Melissa, thank you for joining us this evening. As a reminder, next week, Peter Mancuso will be with us, our president, and we will get that going. So everything will be up on the Kiwanis of Michigan Facebook page. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.